Hello, my friends. Brian King here. I had the privilege of consulting at a new school yesterday. It's a school for unconventional learners, is probably the best way to say it. It's called Grace Holistic Center for Education. It's in Yorkville. It was founded by a friend of mine, Terry Grace. We went to social work college together, and she's absolutely brilliant. She's definitely out there doing some very, very incredible things for the community. And she asked me to come in there and talk to a few of the teachers who were having some difficulties connecting with a few of the students. Hey there, Michelle. And one thing that I'm very, very grateful for is the ability that I have to help bridge the gap between people that are missing each other. And one thing that I do very, very well when it comes to my ADHD and dyslexia is I'm able to articulate very, very concretely and specifically what the experience I'm having is. And most importantly, I'm able to help somebody else with similar challenges find the language that they lack to articulate to their educators what their skill gaps are. So I was asked to meet with a teacher and this young man who seemingly just couldn't get anything done in the classroom. And they were concerned that it was, motivation, that they weren't finding him, they weren't reaching him the right way to find what he was passionate about education. And when I met with this young man, let's call him Tom, Tom kept talking about how tired he is. And they were treating him as though he was depressed. He says, I'm tired all the time. I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. And the more I talked to this young man and learned about the difficulties he was having, not to mention that he kept smiling the whole time we were talking, and I looked to the teacher, I said, this is not a child that is depressed. This is a child that's exhausted. He's working so hard just to engage the world, and his brain is working overtime. He's wiped out. That's what's happening. And one of the things that she said is that he can't seem to produce anything in writing. Said, maybe we haven't found the right subject, because he'll spend 45 minutes and write 3 sentences. And I can't remember, hey there, Kayla, I can't remember the specific questions I asked him because, so much happens in the moment when we're talking. But when I was able to determine, and I checked this out with him first before saying it to the teacher, but he has a problem similar to a lot of kids that I know that have severe working memory issues. Now, let me explain again what working memory entails. Working memory is that part of our short-term memory that allows us to capture the instructions we've been given about how to complete a task, then remember them long enough to execute. So let's say the teacher says, I want you to write about this topic, write a couple paragraphs, and let me know when you're done. Great. What did you say again? If your working memory stinks, you'll maybe hold on to that for a couple seconds, but the moment you go to do it, you've forgotten it. That happens to me every day in my life. When I was in school, and I explained this to Tom and the teacher, I would read what the teacher had just put on the overhead of the board, write a couple sentences. I would look at the first couple words, I would go to write them down and forget them. So I had to look again, then maybe write the first couple words, look at again, write the next couple words, and I was always minutes behind everybody else. The teacher, who used an overhead with little sheets, would often write on one sheet, erase it all, then start over. I was screwed. I couldn't keep up. My brain just couldn't capture all that long enough to write it down. Now, back in the 80s, who the heck knew about ADHD? No one. They didn't really test for dyslexia. I was criticized all the time for not paying attention, and so on. The typical disaster story of kids back in those days. So Tom could relate to the experience of thinking about what he wanted to write. He really wanted to write for the teacher, thinking about what he wanted to write, but as the moment he went to go and write it, he forgot what he wanted to write. So he spent 45 minutes trying to write something that he could capture long enough to actually put it on paper. That's how hard this kid was working. No wonder he looked depressed. This kid is wiped out. His mind is working too hard to produce, to try and remember things. So I sent them away with this knowledge to hopefully pass on to everybody else. But here's one thing that's unfortunate. There are a lot of well-meaning professionals out there, okay? A lot of my colleagues, I love them to pieces. They have no idea what's happening in the minds of these kids. They do not know what it feels like to have ADHD. They know what they've read. They've gone to the classes, they've talked to some people who can articulate it from a medical standpoint. But the everyday, real-time experience of having these difficulties is something that is hardly ever articulated, to the degree that I do it. And this is just an ability I have. I don't know how I can do this. I can just do it. So finally, when people find me, and that's one of the reasons my friend Terry asked me to come to the school. She says, of all the people that I know, you're the best. So I want you to come in and work with my staff. And I was able to sit down and not only identify the beliefs of the teacher's definition of success, the student's definition of success, find the disconnect and find a way to bridge the gap. I was also able to find out what are the teacher's goals for the student, what are the student's goals, and what are the skill gaps that prevent this student from reaching those goals. And a lot of it is pointing out the executive skill deficits the kid doesn't even know he has. He can sit there and say, I don't get it, I don't understand, I don't know how to do this. And the teacher will explain it the same way 10 different times, not knowing that there's a specific gap that is not being addressed. Because the student doesn't know that it exists, doesn't know how to articulate it, the teacher doesn't know what to look for, and the professionals, typically, their remedy is medication. Okay, that's a wonderful start for some, but even when the medication is working at its best, you still need skills on top of that. Who's giving the kid the skills? People that typically don't know what they're looking to address in the first place. I'm telling you all this because there are a lot of people out there that believe that they are doing the best for their kids by doing what everybody else is doing. Go to the psychologist, go to the speech person, go to the psychiatrist, and you spend years and years and years doing it, and you make very little movement. Then you tell yourself, oh, progress is progress. Any progress is good. Really? What if you can get better than that? What if you can move fast? One of the things that I'm able to do, because I'm able to get so laser focused and nail it down right away just what's missing, I'm able to help people make gains in 15 minutes because I cut through all the crap. I don't waste time because by the time the kids get to me, they've suffered long enough. I want to help them now. I don't want to say, well, it's a process. Well, these things take time. You just need to trust the process. I don't do that. There are other people that might do that, and that's fine if that's the path they want to go. But for kids like ours, they need concrete, they need actionable, they need simple. They don't need 45 minutes of stuff poured on them that they're going to forget the moment they walk out the door. Simple is powerful. And this example that I had yesterday when I was at my friend's Terry school is another example of the lack of people out there that really know how to articulate what it feels like to have these challenges. That's another reason why I do these videos for you, is because I know the information is lacking. And I know that there are a lot of other people in your life who need this information. But here is another important point. This information's not enough. This information is barely the tip of the iceberg. Those who watch my videos and say, oh, your videos are great, they help me so much. Yeah, but that's like saying, these are the directions to Chicago, but only telling you one step. Okay, go this highway and go straight. And I don't tell you the rest of the steps after that. Yeah, you'll feel like you've made some progress, but you sure as heck didn't go as far as you possibly could. So utilizing my knowledge in these little bits, these 15 minutes, can completely rock your world. But it's something you have to invest in. I've had very, very nice people contact me and say, oh, my daughter's really struggling. Can you just help her out? Meaning, there are people that, because I do these videos free, think that I should continue to just do so as though my need to make a living is an afterthought. Well, you and I are in the same boat. We all got bills to pay. I want to help as much as I can, but I also have to balance the two realities. I'm raising 3 of my own kids. One of them's in college. So I help the best I can. I give what I can in these videos, but everybody's life is different. I can't possibly articulate all of the nuances and variations that exist from one person's difficulties, their own family dynamics, where they live in the country, their own specific individual needs. There are so many variations in there that it really comes down to that one-to-one work to really find out what works. So I articulate what I can in these videos. That's the best I can do. But the best we can do remains to be seen. But in order to find out what that could look like, if you really want your mind blown, you and I need to talk. Because you'd be surprised how much more there is to say about these challenges. Yeah, Ben, right on. So thank you all very much for indulging me and for listening. I hope this insight about the things that can be missing in the classroom, that things may not be what they seem. The unmotivated student, the student who doesn't produce a whole lot of work, could be working 10 times harder than you could ever imagine just to produce the little they did. But when you have someone who has skills like mine, who can come in and quickly identify what the barrier is between what that child wants to produce and can produce, and then knows how to fill that skill gap, wow, then you can see what that kid's truly capable of. Then the educators can truly reach that child where they're at. But you need a translator. You need someone who can come in and bridge the gap. This is something I can do for you. So if this interests you, private message me. We can talk as soon as you're available. And if there's somebody else, somebody as an educator or another professional you think can benefit from this, pass this video along so they can learn something as well. In the meantime, this has been Brian. We'll talk again soon.